Geek Patrol are the who's who when it comes to the geek universe.
They're in a Geek Tank.
All right, Jeremy, it's always great to have you in, and it's been a few months since I've been on the show with you, just through a weird series of events. I haven't been here for.
Sorry, Jeremy, the luck had to end sometime.
Series of unfortunate events.
Exactly. So.
Yep.
But
those unfortunate events left him here.
About this month's meeting of the Memphis Astronomical Society, and you didn't prep us at all. We have no idea what you're going to tell us, so go ahead, man.
Well, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but once again, I am really excited about the program that we've got coming up.
Yeah.
And of course,
what else are you going to say?
Yeah, what else am I going to say, right? We got two strong speakers, one of them, of course, being yours truly.
Yeah.
So I'll get to in a minute.
Okay.
But our first speaker is going to be Whitney Smith, who is a student of astronomy and astrophysics at UT Knoxville.
We had her in last year.
We had her in last year.
For the eclipse talk. Okay.
She couldn't make it this year. I did invite her to the show. But other than the fact that of the quirkiness in the room, which goes without saying,
she learned her lesson.
The reason she can't come this year is because she is expecting. She did announce to me
That's awesome!
that she and her husband are going to are getting the news out to family and friends. So congratulations, Whitney.
Husband,
Yay!
the kid. She looks like she's about 15 years old. No, I mean I know she's a college student.
Oh, these kids running around.
Yeah,
Are you serious?
Having chillins.
I didn't know she was married either.
How the
And-
world
and-
changes in the course of a year.
Joe, we're old. Joe,
Wow.
we're old.
Well,
You're
congratulations, Whitney. She's a great kid. I mean, I call her a kid, but
A lovely
That's because
young lady.
compared to you, she is.
very cool. Very cool. That's
All
awesome.
these kids whippersnappers running around.
Okay,
So-
well, that's a good excuse. We forgive her for that.
But she is giving a talk on one of my favorite, if not my most favorite topic in all of astronomy, and that's stellar evolution. So it's fascinating to.
That sounds fun.
And she loves this topic. She can tell she's very passionate about it when she sent me her blurb. But basically, stars go through a life cycle. They're born, they live, and then they die. 85% of the stars in the universe are like our sun. They're called main sequence stars, which means they're kind of sitting there comfortably fusing hydrogen into helium in their cores and then radiating that energy into outer space.
Until one day.
In the event, in the process we call shining, but that will not continue forever. Billions of years into the future, our sun will run out of hydrogen in its core, and then eventually the core will collapse. The star will swell into a red giant, and it'll start fusing helium in its core. And then as it swells, it will incinerate the Earth and swallow Mercury and Venus, and then it'll be just very, very bad for our solar system. So,
And the legacy that Alan Gilbreth will finally end.
Thank goodness. So
No, the travel. There's travel.
yeah.
but our sun will, our sun will die a kind of
Slow and painful death, it sounds like, Jeremy.
Yeah,
Gee
slow and
whiz.
painful death.
Yeah.
Now, the planetary nebula phase will be exciting, but eventually it'll just sort of fizzle out into a white dwarf, and that'll be the end of the story. Where it gets really excited in the area of stellar evolution is more massive stars whose lives are much shorter, and they have a more violent death. They explode into supernovas and
Oh, yeah.
eventually collapse into neutron stars.
Yeah.
So Whitney's going to cover all that.
Hey,
Awesome.
Jeremy, I don't know if I ever asked you this, but because I've heard discussions about stars, rising and falling, you could say, but like when our star goes out, is it going to just incinerate the planets and they'll just become particles of nothing, or what happens to the planets after the stars?
They go to planet heaven, Joe.
No, I'm just wondering, because you wonder, if they become asteroids or what?
Yeah, that's a great question. Mercury and Venus will no longer be. They will be swallowed up when the sun swells into a red giant.
Yeah.
Earth, we don't know yet.
They are fodder.
The likely scenario is Earth will still be here, but the red giant star that was once our nice sun will be so large it will basically incinerate the planet, boil away the oceans, evaporate the atmosphere, and the Earth will become a molten hunk of rock once again.
So kind of like what's going on in Austin, Texas right now. Okay, I got you. Good times.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to work on your tan, that would be a good day.
Okay.
And then
nice shade of nothing.
But what about Saturn or Jupiter? That's what I'm,
that's actually a great question, because after the red giant phase, you forward millions of years into the future, and the core and the envelope of the star separate in the planetary nebula phase. And when the planetary nebula expands, the radiation pressure, the ionized gas, will actually strip away the gaseous components of the outer planets, like Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So the gaseous components of those planets will just sort of evaporate away, and you'll be left with just the rocky cores at their center. So they literally go from being these beautiful gas giant planets to just being small asteroids.
You know,
Okay. I real quick,
yeah.
and this is, I'm sorry, Jeremy, this has nothing to do with the actual subject, but I want to bring to mind something that Joe just said.
Yeah.
And I want you to think, listeners, is Joe nosy or is he noble in the fact that he still only cares about what happens to his neighbors?
Wait, what? What are you saying? I don't know. Okay.
Sorry, I had to
Nosy
say
or
it.
noble. No, what I've always been...
Earth
because
is toast, but what about Saturn?
What
I
about
always,
Jupiter?
I always
Saturn's
think of
gonna be-
Jupiter and Saturn. I still, I always think of them as like sheep. Like, you know, they're all fluffy and they're all big and poofed up. And then when you shave off the wool, they're these little skinny animals. And I always wonder if Saturn and Jupiter are like that. Like once you get rid, because it's got a giant layer of gas right here.
Sure,
in the
Jupiter's
center.
tough, but you get talking to him, and he's a big ball of nothing.
Well, we don't know how thick that layer of gas is.
Well,
do we?
we also don't.
Kind of like
know
when you
the-
shave a bear, he becomes terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, we also don't know the gravitational pull changes, because if you think about a red giant sun,
Yeah.
is it sucking everything into it? What happens to the asteroid belt that's floating around out there after Mars?
Yeah.
What happens to the Kuiper belt? What happens to all the satellites and comets and other things that are in semi-orbital path crossing with Earth? Once that gravitational epoch ends,
Yeah.
as we swell up, we're going to totally change the neighborhood. As we shrink back down, we're totally changing the neighborhood. And eventually everything
Kind of
that
like when
is
you
the
remodel your
neighborhood-
house.
Yeah.
Yeah, and eventually everything that was the neighborhood is no longer the neighborhood. It's now somebody else's neighborhood.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeremy, Alan brought up a point here with satellites, and it just like had me thinking. You know, we have a very vast array of satellites up in our stratosphere, and anyway, up there.
I think Alan meant the natural ones, bro.
Well, I know, but when you're stargazing, especially with binoculars, you claim like, oh, the binoculars are the way to go, right?
Yep.
So how do you, let's say, get around the satellite? You know, like this thing's flying up and you're, kind of thing. What? I don't.
Well, I normally use my telescope, so
Okay.
I'm zoomed in on a very small section of the sky. But occasionally, and this happens more regularly now than probably in the past, I will see a satellite streaking across my eyepiece. And it's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Wow, that would be pretty cool. But it's
So,
fast too,
it's
right?
fast.
it's
Come on,
just-
Comcast! I'm trying to see the
That's
Mars.
exactly right.
But
I'm looking at Mars. I don't want to be interrupted. Okay.
Come on, AT&T!
But Jeremy, am I is that a foolish comparison? A sheep and the planet Jupiter
Yes.
or anything, or is it?
Tell him yes.
No,
Jupiter's
I mean,
not a gas giant. Jupiter's pretty solid, dude.
Is it okay?
well,
I hadn't been there,
Saturn's
so I
the
can't.
it's more subtle than that. It's not like you go abruptly from gas to rock. The transition is much more subtle than that. I mean, you will. The outer portions of Jupiter that we see are like sheep. It's fluffy, it's nice, it's light. But as you penetrate down, the hydrogen, it's mostly hydrogen, becomes more and more compressed into like a liquid state, and then eventually a liquid metallic state. In fact, that's the most abundant element or metal in our solar system, is a liquid metallic hydrogen. So it has the properties of a metal. It behaves like a liquid, but it's really kind of a gas. It's a compressed gas.
Wait a minute.
So if you were to probe the layers of Jupiter, it gets really fascinating.
Alan, you've been bringing us science news for years. You never mentioned this liquid metal stuff. I mean, I'm thinking of
You never
Wakanda and adamant. I mean, when are we going to start mining Jupiter? It sounds like there's some cool stuff.
Well,
We'll
Joe,
probably
we can
be
get
wiped
there.
out
Well,
getting through the
We can
storms.
barely get to Mars, Joe.
We just discovered Mars needs a nappy.
Yeah.
No, come on, we're just getting
We
there.
got to change Mars's diaper first. It's got a blue
Wow.
streak in it.
Well, Jeremy, wait. So Whitney Smith is going to be giving that discussion at 8 o'clock, and you got to follow that. Good luck, sir. What are you going to talk about? I mean,
He's got to talk about.
sounds
He's
like-
going to talk about Infinity War and where all those
He's just going to completely flip the script.
yeah.
Vibranium is from Jupiter. We
Yeah.
got it,
Okay. So
I've
what
had a
do
presentation in my head for a number of years. I just got to get out. And
Okay.
Basically, it's in line with what's happening right now with Mars. We're reaching opposition right now, but also Mars is undergoing retrograde motion, which means it's going backwards, and eventually it will start going eastward again at the end of August.
Wait. You're supposed to be astronomical, not the.
oh, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Don't.
I'm
Yeah.
going to follow that comment. But anyway,
You hit a nerve.
I'm basically going to give a talk.
He's going to tell your future in the parking lot in about an hour.
I'm going to attempt to cover roughly 3,000 years of history in about 40 minutes, discussing mankind's struggle to understand the motions of the planets, leading to the birth of modern science. In fact, that's the title of my talk, The Birth of Modern Science.
Oh.
So follow that, Joe.
Okay, so you're talking about the notion of, what was it called, the heliocentric view, and then the different view where they thought okay.
I'm going to start in the classical period,
That'll be
briefly touch on
He read
ancient
that
Greek
off his
philosophers and the development of the geocentric model of the universe.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to finish with Copernicus and talk about the great interruptions in between. Why did it take 14 centuries to go from Ptolemy to Copernicus? And why was it so hard for humanity to get off of this geocentric mindset when it comes to the universe? Because when you model it, it was terribly complicated.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the quotes I'm going to use in my presentation was by King Alfonso the Wise of Castile in the 13th century, when being educated on the Ptolemaic model, which was just being reintroduced into European culture after being lost for 1,000 years. He was quoted as saying, "If the Lord Almighty had consulted me before embarking upon the creation, I would have recommended something simpler."
Yeah, no joke.
Yeah, why didn't he do that? Okay.
So,
all right.
And there's going to be some things about Nicholas Copernicus that are oftentimes not elaborated on. When we go through the short course in astronomy, it's usually we touch on Greek philosophy, and then we jump forward to the Renaissance period, and really give Copernicus more credit than he deserves.
Oh,
he was
really?
anything but the revolutionary that history paints him as. But he
Whoa.
introduced an idea that was that serious philosophers and serious scholars of the day could not get away from, and that is, let's place the sun at the center of the universe, not the earth. And that led to Kepler and Galileo and eventually Newton.
So basically what you're telling me, though, is that Copernicus is the Bob Kane of science.
Oh, how dare you?
I wouldn't say that.
That's pretty cold-blooded, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
is he the Tesla or the Einstein then?
No.
You got to give him a lot of credit because he did have the courage to write De Revolutionibus and publish it.
Yeah.
Even though he didn't firmly believe in it himself, a moving Earth.
Right.
But of course, he published it on his deathbed, so it's like, what have I got to lose? What are you going to do?
What are you
Arrest
gonna-
me?
Yeah.
So fire me, so arrest me, so criticize me. I don't care.
But
dig me up and throw rocks at me. I don't care.
But Copernicus was that was a pivotal part of history. But how far are you taking this all the way to modern times, like with Hubble and everything?
No, I'm not going that far. I'm going
Okay.
from Antiquity to Copernicus, and that's where I'm going to finish because I've got a lot of stuff to cover in between.
Okay.
Including the great interruptions of the classical period and the medieval period.
And the
it's a history that
interruptions of
oftentimes.
I hope you
Yeah.
guys are going to videotape.
Brodicus Scoticus?
Yes,
Yeah.
Brodicus
Are you going to
Scoticus.
videotape this? Or?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. All right.
I'm
And-
betting that's
also-
going to be on the YouTube page.
I was actually working on this. I couldn't sleep. It was 2:30 in the morning, and I'm going through this stuff, and my mind just gets really active. So I literally woke up and worked on this for a couple hours last night, which is why I didn't get much sleep last night. But,
yeah.
what's really intriguing about the Copernicus is the timing of when he was born. He was born in 1473. And here's a pop quiz. Can anybody tell me what event occurred when he was a young man?
Alan probably can.
He was there.
He was there.
Did it have anything to do with comets?
Asteroid
or?
comet. I'm betting a comet.
I'm waiting on dancing for Joe over there.
Everyone in this room should know the answer. In 1492.
Somebody
okay.
sailed the ocean
Ocean
blue,
blue.
y'all.
Yeah,
Sailed the
yeah.
ocean blue.
Yeah.
So he
Columbus
proved that
stole
the
America.
was- okay, sorry.
I was gonna sandbag him a little longer. I was sitting there just rolling my eyes over, going, "Really, 1492?"
Okay, sorry.
So
about
imagine
that.
living in a time.
The Earth was proven to be round, even though I think a lot of people still believed it was round anyway.
There's still a flat Earth society today, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But more importantly, discoveries
Columbus
were being
got
made.
lost and found America.
Yeah.
That had
Discoveries
already-
were being made that were so profound that it was basically resulting in the European mind to question what they believed.
Right.
And when you question your assumptions, that's when learning starts.
This
Okay.
was the political discovery of America.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because
Well, we knew America existed across the northern latitudes, but actual political Europe didn't have it.
You notice he keeps saying we.
Yeah.
And I don't think he means the royal we. I think he was there.
Yeah. This is going to be pretty. This sounds like it's going to be one of your best talks ever, Jeremy.
Well, I'm excited about it, and You know, I tell you, we get into some stuff in the short course, but I'm really taking a segment of the short course on astronomy and really laser focusing on it. And I'm going to be unfolding a part of history that I think very few people are aware of, are not aware of, and maybe haven't thought through, and how it really relates to Western civilization, the foundations of our civilization today, and how astronomy ties into that.
Yeah. Well,
Way to go, Copernicus.
yeah. No, and I like the notion of challenging assumptions that people have, and then I don't know. I think the social dynamics will be very interesting. So, all right. Well, Jeremy, how do we come if we want to watch or if we want to see this presentation? What do we need to do?
Well, it's at 8 o'clock next Friday, August the 3rd, Christian Brothers University, Assessi Hall, room 155. Our website is memphisastro.org. And just show up at 8 o'clock. It's free and open to the general public. Anybody can come, including Alan and Joe.
Wow,
Hey, you guys have been to some of our previous meetings, and it's always nice to see you guys there. So it's 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time, Christian Brothers University, Assessi Hall, room 155. MemphisAstro.org is our website, and of course we're on Facebook. Just go to Facebook and search Memphis Astronomical Society, and we're on YouTube, Memphis Astron Society. We are going to be recording both of these presentations, and I will be sending an email out the following week with the links.
Yeah.
So if you can't make it there in person, which I hope you do, the video will be coming out the following
Can at least
week.
give it a view.
It's pretty cool. I don't know who we need to talk to about this, but last month you didn't have your blueberry muffins that you usually have. I have a little complaint.
This guy with the snacks.
Well, my girlfriend
Snacks
is
are one of the attractions for this thing. So, Jeremy, come on, man.
That's a good tip. I will make sure that we have blueberry muffins.
Yeah.
Just for Joe. No, don't touch those. Those are Joe's.
Yeah.
We put a special ingredient.
Yeah. So,
Talk number
Tranquilizer.
1, Stellar Evolution by Whitney Smith. Talk number 2, The Birth of Modern Science by Jeremy Veldman. One of our strongest programs. Come on out next Friday, August the 3rd.
absolutely. Yeah.
That evolution thing, that sounds really
Yeah. Well, this is pretty exciting. So, when we come back, though, we're going to talk about something super boring, and we're going to do our 5-minute Comic-Con recap.
Geek Tank Radio. More below and on 1019kissfm.com. Keyword Geek Tank.